Hello everybody, welcome to the config and tech video for Space Quest 1, the Sarian encounter. Get my stuff open. Alright, so in this video we'll be setting up Space Quest 1, general and advanced settings where needed. This will hopefully put the game in the best playable state it can be. There will not be a modding video as there are no mods. Any links that are covered in this video will be in the description below. This video will most likely serve the future Space Quest games as their config and tech video, while also including game-specific information pertaining to the individual game. I'm going to be doing this config and tech video in 4 segments, combining them all into one video in the end. The first segment's going to be this intro and just talking. And the second segment will be program specific, what we will use in conjunction with the game files to make it operate. The third segment will be in-game settings that we'll just talk about and go over. And then the fourth segment will be those in-game settings and me showing you them in the game themselves. So the first section here, information and setup. Regarding the game data, the games itself, it really doesn't matter which version of the game you have. You can use the original disk data, the Space Quest collection on Steam or GOG.com, good old games. You just need the original data files, the game data files for the game. And this pertains to any of the Space Quest games or the King's Quest games that we'll be playing. As these games are old and designed for either MS-DOS or earlier versions of Microsoft Windows, you can't really install and play these games the traditional way. Let's start by creating a Space Quest 1 folder and put your raw files into it. I will show you here, this is the ScummVM, where you'll have the files installed once you install this program called ScummVM. So on your desktop, you can go ahead and do it the way I did it. I made a games folder, and then inside there I have the games that I will play through ScummVM. So make a folder called games, inside that make a folder called Space Quest, and inside that make a game folder for Space Quest 1, and then I made a folder called main, and this covers the EGA version, the original, and then the remake, the VGA. So these are the folders for the originals. That's why I have it main, because there's also modded games. So when I play those, I'll be making a folder here. Go ahead and show you. And it will just be called mods or mod, probably mods. And then inside that I would create, Space Quest, whatever, 7 fan-made game. So I'll start back here again. Inside your ScummVM folder, make games, make Space Quest 1, main, and then call it Space Quest 1, the Sarian encounter, original DOS, or you can call it, EGA and then VGA. And then you should have inside wherever you got your game files from, be it your original disks that you ripped or from GOG or Steam, you should have something that looks similar to this as far as files within the games folder. Like, you're not going to have these specific files if you didn't get it on, GOG. There is a manual in here that you can also reference, which is handy, and I advise you to do so. Gives you a little synapse Not going to spoil too much of it here, but just show you that there is information in here. So I would advise you to look at those. Each game should come with one. So yeah, nothing particular is important in here that we need to mess with. If you get the GOG version, I don't know about now, but it's probably going to be preloaded with something called DOSBox, which I don't advise you to use anymore. ScummVM is the new replacement for DOSBox. But if those files are in here, it's fine. It doesn't matter. All that matters is the core files, like probably these volume files or some core stuff. Obviously, these are probably pictures, sound, objects, logs, fonts, AGIs to do with the game engine. So this is the critical stuff. The Space Quest 1 INI file. It's a ScummVM related thing. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Just put all the files in there. And then when you get ScummVM installed in your computer, which will be the next step, then you can drag that folder from the desktop into your ScummVM folder and have it here. And you can have all your stuff organized. So I have the same thing, like, you know, all 6 Space Quest games. And, you know, there's the second game. Here's mods. I didn't have a mods folder for the first one because I don't think there is any, but there is for the second. At least the second. It looks like that one's got one sometime after. So this is a game this is a fan-made Space Quest 7, basically. Which is technically where that should go. I'm actually going to move that. We'll make a new folder. Space Quest 7. It's not letting me put that in there. That's weird. Okay, undo. I think I might have lost it. Unless this is it. Yeah, I don't know why it got put in the trash, but okay, copy. I'm gonna make it again. Space Quest 7 mods, right? Delete that. So in 2 I do have mods. I have a lost chapter sometime after Space Quest 2, so this is in between Space Quest 2 and Space Quest 3, a prequel to Space Quest 2, but before Space Quest 1. This is a complete remake of Space Quest 2, but it's a fan remake. And then Valhalla Strikes Back, an unofficial sequel to Space Quest 2. So it's like a Space Quest 2 Part 2, so we'll play those and all that. I don't need that. Okay, so it'll be in your ScummVM folder. And this is where you'll store your games. So the ScummVM program, ScummVM is not really an emulator, it is more of a front end for loading the games properly in a modern PC environment. You will need this software to play this game and the other Space Quest, you know, any of these games you see listed here. Black Cauldron, it's actually the game I think where Scott Murphy and Mark Crow first met making Black Cauldron, and then they went on to make the Space Quest series. Then you can play Blade Runner, I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, the King's Quest games, Lighthouse, Maniac Mansion, Mixed Up Mother Goose, which I've never played, but would like to try to play. I thought I might have had an image to show you. No. Then the Police Quest games. They're much like the King's Quest and Space Quest, and then of course the Space Quest games. The other files are in Avenir's licensing. It's just copyright info, nothing important. And then saves. When you have saves, they're going to appear in here for doing quick saves. And then the executable for the program, and then 2 uninstalls for some reason. There's other little files that you'll have in here too. I've just hidden them to not make them a distraction. So you'll have other files alongside these. I've just started hiding any files that aren't important. And only showing like executables and folders, just to make it less distracting. Okay, so ScummVM, as already said, is considered the replacement for using DOSBox. It is a lightweight and easy to use software once it is set up properly. So please download and install ScummVM from the link below. On the main page, click the Downloads link in the main menu on the right. Also, check out Compatibility link in the Documentation menu on the right to learn about other games that can be played through ScummVM. So I'll put the link to this in the description of this video, and I will go to it here also and show it to you. So when you go to the site, this is what it will look like. And you'll have your downloads. Obviously, I would say read this, please. This will take you to the compatibility tab as well, but please read this. They have updates here. Each time they do an update, they include kind of like a what's new or what they've changed. But this will give you a little overview. But if you click on, and there's a forums and everything. If you click over here on downloads, it'll take you to where you can download it. Current version is 2.7.0. It's free. There's no spam adware, none of that junk crap. I promise you this is safe, clean, and everything's cool. So go ahead and download that. Download it here. And there's a 32-bit or 64-bit version, whichever you need. You can get an installer or a zip file version. Clicking this will automatically give you the installer, which I advise you to just use the installer. Yeah, so there's other options here, but lots of other options. And there's old versions and everything below, but just click this button here, and if that doesn't work, then try something else below. And going back, I also told you to click the compatibility tab. There's documentations and facts stuff, wiki. But if you click compatibility, you can quickly go down a list here. And you can see which games. They separate them based on their systems or the game engine. So like here's the other Sierra games. You can see King's Quest 1 all the way to 7. The Leisure Suit Larry games. I may get into those in the future. I have actually personally never played a Leisure Suit Larry game. It was just not something I was never interested in. I'd say if you're somebody that's like really into like the Grand Theft Auto games, you're probably going to dig the Leisure Suit Larry games, but they play like the Police Quest, the King's Quest. Here's the Police Quest games. Quest for Glory is another series I might look into. I've never played any of them. I didn't know about them back in the day. But I think a lot of those play like King's Quest with a modern flair to them, I'm sure. And here's all the Space Quest games. Black Cauldron. And just the list goes on. These are other old, like the Trilobite games, the 7th Guest series. That's something I'll be playing at some point on the channel. There's no pictures. So yeah, this supports a lot of Maniac Mansion, Monkey Island games, The Dig. These are a lot of old school LucasArts point and clicks, Grim Fandango. Although arguably if you're going to play Grim Fandango, it's better to play the remake, which I'll play this too on my channel at some point. But there is a Grim Fandango remaster from Double Fine Productions, and I advise you to play this version if you play this game. This is a really, really good game. It's only frickin' $3, $4, but you can play the old school original through here. And yeah, even some of the fan-made Space Quest things are even supported. And they tell you how good they'll play. So like if you look up, we're talking about space, there's a, where was it? Saw it, Blade Runner. Let's get back to Space Quest. So these here, these are the Space Quests, and you can see they all have a very good to excellent rating. So King's Quest, good to excellent. So there you go with that. So yeah, once you have your Space Quest 1 files ready in that folder, Games folder, or just Space Quest 1, whatever you want to do, on your desktop, and you've installed ScummVM so that you have these things, and you can access your ScummVM folder. Go ahead and run ScummVM, and I will run the software too, and I'll show you how to set up the software and also how to set up the games individually as well. Just pertaining to Space Quest 1 in this video, but it will pertain to the other games that we play. But I will show individual adjustments, because each game can have their own individual settings that apply just to them specifically. So the way you set up Space Quest 1 may not apply to how you set up Space Quest 3, which I can already tell you it won't. So I will show you just how to set up the software itself and then Space Quest 1 in the game. So I'm going to do a quick edit cut here. This will be the first cut of 4 of the 4 segments. This will conclude the first segment, and then the next segment will continue and will be in the ScummVM program, and we'll go through that setup process. So thank you for watching this little segment here, and I'll see you in that little cut. Bye. Hello everybody, welcome to the config and tech portion for ScummVM for Space Quest 1. We're just going to go through the whole program here, and I will show you how I set everything up. It may not be exactly perfect, but it's all working. So I've already got everything set up here in my list. Once you have things in your list, you'll have a search bar here where you can type just to search for Space Quest, say, if you had a super long list, I guess. These are other ways you can sort what you're searching for. And then you have a view down here where you can switch to kind of a graphic art view where it'll just pull these from a database. So that you can look at all the games this way and execute and start them from this manner. I'm not going to be using this, and you have the option to adjust how many you see at a time and stuff based on how far you slide this. I may be using the list view, but you can switch between the two views there. You can see the version you're using. You can also see it here when you're not in full screen mode. And you're going to have start, load, add game, game options, remove game, global options, about, and quit. So about will just give you more information. It just auto scrolls. So very cool how they've shown the games and everything in here as well. It's obviously quicker to access that from the website. And global options are going to be where you're configuring the actual program, so that's where we want to start in this part of the video. You're going to have multiple tabs up here: graphics, key maps or keybinds, audio, volume, MIDI, MT32, paths, GUI, miscellaneous, cloud, LAN, and accessibility. Be starting on the graphics. So graphics mode, I just leave everything on default here. I'm assuming it's defaulting on OpenGL is what ScummVM uses for its API. So just leave it on default. Same thing with the render modes, the stretch modes, because what you really need to do is you need to configure each individual game that you set to run through here anyway. So you don't need to be relying on a particular setting that you set as the global setting. So just leave it as default. This you're going to adjust all this individually. Let me open that again. Okay. None of this matters. Just leave it. I check aspect ratio correction. This will make it so, as it says right there, if I can get it to show it again. Correct aspect ratio for games. This will keep your game from being stretched all the way across the width of the screen. My resolution is 1920 by 1080, so 1080p is what I'm going by. But these games were designed for a 4:3 ratio, so that's how they need to be presented to look correct. You're going to have bars on the left and the right vertically when you have this checked, but that's the way you should have it. Otherwise, you're going to stretch the image. Full screen mode, if you do that, it'll take the border away from here, which is normally how I would have it, but because I might want to come in and out of this screen, I have changed it to just be windowed mode for now, so that I have the ability to minimize and stuff. But I would say go ahead and put it on full screen. And you would want to anyway, because it's probably going to keep that border when you're playing the game if you don't. So filter graphics, leave that unchecked. See what it says here. Tooltip takes forever. Use linear filtering when scaling graphics. That's just going to mud up your graphics. These games are meant to have a pixelated look. If you don't like the pixelated looks of these games, then you're probably not going to like playing them anyway. VSync, wait for the vertical synchronization to refresh the screen in order to prevent tearing artifacts. So I would advise to use this unless you have a G-Sync monitor or are using some other way to sync your frame rate with the refresh rate of your screen. But I hate screen tearing of any kind, so I'm checking it. The game 3D renderer, just leave it at default. All of this, leave it at default. Then click apply. Mainly the only important options here are the aspect ratio correction, full screen mode, and VSync. I don't know what the defaults were because I've already got my stuff configured. You go to key maps. Here's where you can adjust some different things. So Control Z you can use to bring up the main menu of the program while you're in an individual game. You can use Alt F4 to quit out of a game, and it'll bring you straight back to ScummVM. It won't quit the game and also quit you out of the program. It'll just quit you out of the game. So you can adjust any keybinds here the way you want to do them. Control F. I have set for full screening, Control S for screenshots. Control A will disable or enable the full screen mode, basically. So you can see what I'm talking about in real time. I'll try to do it when I go into the game, just just to show you. But you can see how the normal looks. You'll see that anyway, because that's how I'm going to be playing it, but you'll see how it looks stretched. Same thing with the scaling, which applies to the filter graphics. You can make a keybind to see how that looks. I'll actually change this to... see, I'm going to make this Alt. Is there no way to like clear it? I don't want to reset. There's got to be a way to clear it. Backspace, delete, escape, right click. Okay, clear mapping. You have to click the drop down and then you can clear it. So then I want it to be Alt, return, and since this is filtering, I will make this Control F. So I'll try to do Control A and Control F later. Cycle through stretch modes. Not going to worry about that. Escape, close. That's all you really need to worry about. Nothing crazy. These are just controls to control ScummVM while you're within a game, basically. Click Apply, go to Audio, same thing. In most cases, you're going to want to be using probably either the IBM PC Junior emulator for sound or the MT32 Roland emulator. That's why I don't recommend setting anything. Leave it on default. We're going to be manually adjusting this for games themselves, but just set these to my settings, both 60. Volume, that's the default. Just leave it there. Don't use general MIDI music. Yeah, that's fine, doesn't matter. Leave it. No sound fonts. These are the settings for, let me go back. So set everything up like this. And in Fluid Synth settings, this is how I have it. This is the defaults. Course. Miscellaneous. Okay. Apply. MT32. Yeah, I have these set to not do anything just to make sure that they don't actually force themselves. So set it up like that. Click Apply. Paths. This is where I have my ScummVM installed on my particular drive, which is my D drive. I have an emulators folder, and then I installed it, ScummVM, and then saves. This is where your save games will go from doing quick saves and whatnot. The theme will just default to your default ScummVM folder. This folder. There's your saves. ScummVM config path. This is important. Well, I think I covered it. Roaming. Yes, I'll cover that later. But this is an important path to notate. It's the last game you looked at or messed with settings. So there's the settings for that. Apply, GUI, graphic user interface. ScummVM does come with 5 different options for the way the UI looks, the coloring of the buttons being green and the background and all that. So you can pick whichever one you want here. I'm using the modern theme remastered. I just like the color, but you can change that to be whatever you want. Just click the theme. You can scale the UI to be smaller, bigger. See how it's a lot larger now. Or put it on large. Could get away with, well, I have to scroll, but so I think I'm going to leave it on medium, put that on what you would like to put that on. Anti-aliased renderer, sure. Put your language that you're going to be using. Switch the ScummVM GUI language to the game language. No, that doesn't matter. Use native system file browser. That's fine. Return to the launcher when leaving a game. So if you uncheck this and you Alt F4 or quit out of the game, it's probably going to quit out of ScummVM as well. You may not want to do that, so I would leave that checked. Ask for confirmation on exit. That's up to you. Update icons. Go ahead and let it do that. If it will. It says no new icon packs available. Okay. So that refers to over here where I showed you could change the view to this. That refers to these. That's where it pulls these from. So if you don't have any that show up, or you want to check and make sure you have the latest or whatever, that is what you will do. And in the icons too, they show you what region they're for. So this one being for US, America, and European. It would show Japanese if it was Japanese, and then it shows you the OS that it's for. MS-DOS, Windows. So you can see a Space Quest. Not until Space Quest 4 did they switch to Windows. Apparently these are the DOS versions. I think there is a reason. I think these have DOS versions and Windows versions, but I think the DOS versions are better. I forget what the reason is. Okay, so the icons, that's what that was for under the GUI settings. Apply your settings, miscellaneous. Autosave, so every 5 minutes ScummVM will just make autosaves for you, which is in your games, which is nice. Extremely nice in the games like Sierra. But you can also do quick saves and quick loads. And you can also save your game just whenever you want to, basically. Alright. Random seed, I have no idea. I'm not messing with that. Enable Discord integration. I don't use Discord. Update check weekly. So this is for ScummVM. How often do you want it to check for updates for the software? I would say weekly is good. Go ahead and check it. It tells you you're up to date. 270. You can confirm here, or you can confirm here. Apply, cloud, not using it, not running, not using any of this, accessibility, not using any of this. So I'll let you see these again, just so you can try to mirror my settings if you want. Because at least this way, if you start with mirroring my settings as your baseline, and then you have issues, then I can try to help you in the comments. You can let me know what your problem is you're having. And as long as you have things set up the way I do, then it'll help me help you quicker, basically. So these are just the global settings for ScummVM. I'm actually going to do another segment. I think I'm going to break this segment so that I can upload this, not upload this, but put this in my various information playlist on my home page at the bottom for just general information, where I have like a video I cut out of my Firewatch playthrough just talking about FOV. I'm going to use this as a clean edit to just talk about how to configure ScummVM. In the next video, I'll come back in here and then I'll show you the actual adjustment for Space Quest 1. I think that's a better way to do it. So this will have 5 segments then, not 4. And these are all default. I didn't change any of that. So click Apply. I'm actually going to, I'm going to leave it like that. So that basically covers that. I guess I will cover how to set up a individual game. Do I want to do that? No, I won't do that. This basically just shows how to do the global setup options for ScummVM. And I'll do an edit cut here. And in the next video, when we come back, I will show how to set up Space Quest 1 itself and how to individually adjust its settings. So if you're watching this video from my edit on how to use ScummVM and you want to know how to do games like this, please look for one of my Space Quest or King's Quest playlists, and it will have a config and tech video in there that will show you how to further configure an individual game. So thank you for watching this segment. I'll do an edit cut and we'll be back in here and we'll set up Space Quest 1 itself. So thank you for watching. Bye. Hello everybody. Welcome to the config and tech video for Space Quest 1, where we will be setting up Space Quest 1 in ScummVM. I'll show you how to get the game in here and how to configure it. Excuse me. So you're going to have an empty window over here. What you want to do is first click over here in the window, and then you're going to click Add Game. It's going to want you to locate your game files. So if you go back to your ScummVM folder, go into your games folder you made, find your Space Quest folder, and go all the way into it. This is where the files would be. And you just need to choose this file, or choose the folder. It's going to give you 2 options to pick from. Offhand, I don't remember what the CO3 is, but this is the standard version, and the version I'm using and use in all the other ones. So go ahead and pick that one, the one that says DOS English. Click Choose. It'll pop up a new window here that looks similar to the global options that we did in the last segment. But these are settings for the individual game that we are installing here. So leave this window open. I'm going to cancel out because I already have it configured. So I'm just going to edit my pre-existing one. And once something is already in here, you just highlight it and click Game Options, and then it will pop up that same window. So you're going to have these tabs, Game, Graphics, Key Maps, Audio, Volume, MIDI, MT32, and Paths. These are all in the global options, but we're going to be manually adjusting these. So leave these as they are. The ID, SQ1 for Space Quest 1. You can title this whatever. This is how I chose to title it, just letting myself know it's the original EGA DOS version, and the sound module I'm going to be using is the IBM PC Junior sound. Language is English, platform will be DOS. Use original save load screens. If you uncheck this, it's going to use a screen with a ScummVM GUI user interface design. If you want that, that's fine. I just want to be authentic with how the original screens looked, so I'm checking this. Mouse support, mouse movement, and in-game menus. This is true, although I want to stick to the original experience of how you play these, but you can have some degree of click to move functions. But I'm going to play it how you would normally play it. You would use just your keyboard with this game, using your arrow keys for movement and typing to do things, and the enter key. But there'll be menus. I will show them to you when we go into the configuring segment of this video where I visually show adjustments. I'll try to remember to do that. Show you how the mouse options look. But I'm not using it. Use Hercules high-res font. This I would advise against. This basically puts a filtering over the font, kind of muddies it up, makes it look blurry, makes it not really match the rest of the graphics. Unchecked, it'll keep its pixelated, clean look. Pause when entering commands. Shows a command prompt window and pauses the game like an SCI instead of real-time prompt. So SCI being the older, or not the older, the newer versions of how the games functioned. When you would start typing, it would just kind of pause the game. I'm not going to do that because that's not how it worked on the originals. That's up to you. Graphics. So make sure you check override global graphic settings. This way, anything you do specify in here will not be default if you don't want it to be. But in the case of all this stuff, I am leaving all this default. I'm not adding any, I'm not even using reshade or sweet effects or anything for these games. I'm just leaving them clean. The only thing I may do is adjust brightness or lower brightness in editing, but that's it. Aspect ratio, like before in the global settings, we want to keep it 4:3 so it looks right and it's not stretched. Full screen mode in the game, which is fine. Meaning you can, I'll go show you here, in global options, you can choose to use full screen mode or not just for ScummVM. And then when you are configuring a game here, you can choose whether you want the game to be full screen or not. So I would advise yes to make it full screen. No filtered graphics. VSync so we don't get screen tearing. All of this is default, so nothing in here is really any different than what the global settings would apply, but I still go ahead and override global as a default. Key maps. So here's controls if you were left clicking, for mouse movement. F5 brings up a game menu. Pause is space. Confirm, return, or enter key, meaning you say look around the room and you press enter. So these are just kind of the defaults. I'm not really changing any of these. Audio, override global audio settings. Now here's where you will make an adjustment. Yeah, so this will be really cool for me because I haven't played these in so long. My original Tandy 1000 did not have the PC Junior speaker in it. It had just the PC speaker, which would be the plain one here. Just a plain mono speaker. But it was meant to be played through the PC Junior speaker, which makes the audio sound even better, which we'll get to experience by using ScummVM. And then later games they improved by implementing the Roland MT32 synthesizer. And this can also be utilized. I will show how to do that in a later video. I'm not going to really cover that until we get to it. I can't completely provide everything you will need to make games that support the Roland MT32 work, but I can explain what you will need and how you can come up with it yourself. So I'll try to also, in a game, I think Space Quest 3 is when you can start using, the MT32. So when I get to that game, I'll probably make a video where I show what the PC mono speaker sounded like, what the PC Junior speaker would sound like, and then what the MT32 would sound like when we get to that game. I'll make a short video and put it somewhere so you can have an example of all three qualities of audio. But for this game, we'll be using the PC Junior emulator, which is what I recommend you use. This can just be on default. This is grayed out, doesn't matter. There's no subtitles or speech because this does not support speech. Subtitle speed 60, doesn't really matter, just leave it on that. Just set it up just like this. Volume. I do remember that the global was 191, wasn't it? Yeah, so I don't know why it's 192 for this, but that's fine. Just put it on 192. That's going to be like the default. Override global options. This does not apply. We're not using MIDI, and we're not using MT32, so all of these will be unchecked and blank and grayed out. And then paths, default save path, and then it creates a path here. Guess it's going to save them in there. The actual save path is in the ScummVM folder where it'll create save files, but no, this is the game path, right? Okay. So yeah, so your saves will go in your ScummVM folder, and then this is just the game path, which will already be pre-populated here when we added it. So this is all you need to do for Space Quest 1. Just a few settings you need to adjust to get the best thing. Each game will have different settings for game. There'll be various options here. There might be a few other graphic settings, and then the audio settings will be varied depending on whether you're using the PC Junior or you're using the Roland MT32. Everything else will be the same. So that's that. And when we cover a future game in the series, I will just link to the segment before this showing you how to do the global options for ScummVM, and then I will make a second segment for the next individual game. So say it was King's Quest 1. So you can see here on the remake that Sierra released. See, this game has a few other options here, which we'll get into later. But this game does support the Roland MT32. So we'll get into that in that game. I won't be playing the remake right after the original. I'll be going to the second game. Once we get through the mainline series of 1 through 6, I'll go back and hit the remake of the first game and continue on from there until we get into the fan-made stuff. Alright, so that'll include this segment. So thank you for watching this segment, and we'll see you in the next part. Bye. Hello everybody, welcome to the Config and Tech video segment. Just a little closing part for this video. Got our ScummVM. I keep calling it ScummVM. It's VM, virtual machine. Trying to remember. Let's go look at the site. What the actual acronym for this is. Script Creation Utility for Maniac Mansion Virtual Machine. So Maniac Mansion, for those of you who have not played that game. Maniac Mansion. There it is. Trying to just show you some graphics. You may have seen it before. There's an NES version. This is like the PC version. So the NES version is similar but downgraded. It's a crazy freaking game, I'll tell you that much. But that's what it was designed, I guess, to primarily run that game, but it works for all these other games. So with see, I did it again. With ScummVM and your game set up now, you should be able to play it just fine. You should go to this folder, this being the ScummVM configuration files folder on your computer. You'll just need to put your appropriate, whatever your username is, in this location. As long as you've got your stuff installed on a C drive like most people, this is where it will be. I advise you to back up this folder as it contains ScummVM and games list configurations, so you won't lose everything you have set up. So when we set up the global settings for ScummVM and then we set up the actual profile for the game itself, that's all stored in this path. So make sure you back all that up. So if you have to reinstall anything or anything happens, you can copy those back into this folder on a new install or on a new computer, and they should be back in your list and you won't have to recreate them. So as far as options in the game itself, this being an old Sierra game, they don't have anything in the game itself to really configure as far as graphics or audio adjustments. That's all done through ScummVM. Regarding how to adjust anything in the game and the controls, we will cover that once we start the first gameplay video. I'll do that in the beginning. Just kind of cover how the interface is, of what interface there is, and how the controls work and whatnot. So yeah, normally I would discuss options in the graphics and audio department of a game, and then I would go into it, the game, and show you in a segment after this what those actually look like. But this is an old game where they don't work that way, so what there is left to cover can just be covered in the first gameplay video. So thank you for watching these technical videos. I hope you enjoy the classic Sierra game, Space Quest 1. In the next video, we'll be getting into the gameplay. So see you there. Bye.